emptiness as ambiguity of all things. My perspective is limited necessarily, so that means I wouldn't know other ways of seeing unless I discover that. And that discovery comes from my conversation with other people and asking questions to others around me so that I can be more flexible about and expansive of my vision to see the same thing and yet from different perspectives. And that flexibility of mind, flexibility of the way of seeing is powerfully useful to calm my mind and get away from the cycle of anger and hatred, that kind of things, and build a meaningful relationship with people around you. So for instance, and briefly, so last night I had a conversation with a middle-aged woman after I pick up my son at the daycare. So my son goes to daycare in my neighborhood, and that is an in-home daycare. And next to that in-home daycare, which is the small house, there's another small house, very close, like maybe only 5 or 6 feet apart, and they're attached to one another. So my son goes to daycare. That's one of these houses. So yesterday, after I pick up around 5 p.m., the woman of the house next to the daycare came out, and she was trying to place her trash bins on the street because they will get picked up in the following day. And my car was parked in front of her house. And yet, that street where I parked was a public street, so I'm not violating any law, right? But she said to me in an angry voice, almost yelled at me saying, can you move your car as soon as possible so that I can, place my trash bin here? It's always frustrating you guys like parent of, kids who goes to that daycare, like blocking my some kind of activity like this. And also in the morning when you park around this area, it's really irritating. I was scared, I felt, and she was angry at me, and I felt sorry, but my sense of guilt and also the confusion caught by surprise, right? In that moment, I wasn't expecting nothing similar, like as I'm cause of the suffering for this or stress for this woman. And I thought of escaping as soon as possible that place. Also, I placed my kid to the car seat and I sat on the driver's seat. And I was about to drive away as soon as possible because that's just uncomfortable. I wanted to get away from that situation as soon as possible, right? But I had a thought as soon as I sat on the seat. Wait a minute. Unless that woman expressed her feeling, like complaint, like irritation, that's one perspective that I was not aware of at all. So that means, but I now know her perspective. I would just think like this, right? I would just park in my car, right? That's a limit of my view. And that's how it's supposed to be. That's the nature of the seeing. But from her perspective, I'm parking the car, but that means that same phenomena means for her that that's the blocking her desire to place the trash bin on the streets because my car is parked over there. Thanks to her revealing that perspective to me, the limit of my perspective was expanded. Now I know two different perspectives about the same thing. my car just parked over there. So I thought, it's maybe, let's see what happens. But I want to thank her for expanding my perspective. And instead of driving away, I stopped the car and got out of my car and went back to her. She was still, trying to place the trash bin on the street. And I watched for 10 seconds standing, and she was, I don't know, I was aware or not. It was a little dark. And as soon as she was done with that work, I said to her something like, I don't remember exactly, but something like, thank you so much for sharing what you shared with me. Unless you said that, I wouldn't be able to recognize what I was doing to you. So thank you for expanding my view. And then she stopped and looked at me and started to talk about part of her stories. And she starts with saying something like, thank you for saying that. Actually, and she said something like, it's really frustrated. I've been patient for like over the last 3 years or so. And she also said, well, 3 years or so is another sort of coming out, right? Another perspective. I was only seeing this, but that's blocking her. And now she's been patient for 3 years like that. It's hurtful. And she said, I'm a single mother, that I didn't know that at all. And my kid has a mental challenge. One of my sons, she said, is having autism. So because of the autism, my son, she says, goes to a special school, and that school bus arrives every morning, and I want that bus to, park in front of my house. But because of the cars parked everywhere around my house, because of you guys, she said, the bus cannot park over there, and instead the bus goes a little far from my house, and we had to walk to that. If it's every day, that's kind of irritating. Why that bus cannot park in front of my house because of the other people, parking over there because of the daycare next to my house, she was saying. I'm tired, she said. I don't know what to do. And some people called police about my communication with the neighbors. And I'm so tired. I'm a single mother. I'm exhausted, taking care of my 2 kids. Nobody helps me out. I'm hated by my neighbors, she feels. So, I thought parking, and I was sort of aware of this woman for the last couple months or so. And I thought she's a little like a difficult person to communicate, right? But as soon as I start to hear her stories, like these perspectives really, really expanded who she is, right? Now I know more about her. It turned out my initial way of seeing her as someone difficult to communicate turned out to be there more to it. Single mom, having son autism, exhausted, having difficulty, hated by neighbor, I feel guilty. So all these emotional conflicts she's having. So that's what she revealed to me. And my, perspective, which was limited, was so much expanded. So much. That was almost transforming. She helped me to get off my limited perspective so much. And now I can even empathize her feelings. And I asked her, would you want me to talk to the care provider of the daycare about the parking issue in the morning? And she said, yes, that would be highly appreciated. And she smiled and went back home. That was what happened last night. So here again, my perspective was transformed. I was kind of denying who she is, or she's a mean person, difficult person to communicate. But as soon as I start to hear some stories about her, my perspective was transformed. We sort of made a friendship, neighborly friendship in that sense. But story goes on. This morning, I had a chance to talk to the care provider and that woman, and that further revealed something, so more intuitive. But let me stop over here. So that was the review video of Brook Ziporyn's metaphor of the ambiguous O, qua emptiness of all things in Buddhist truth. My standpoint is that Buddhist philosophy is not just philosophy or theory, floating around quality in the air, in the concept, in the mind. But as soon as you understand the logic, you would want to practice, because it's such a tasteful thing to feel the effectiveness of these Buddhist philosophical teachings in each moment of your communication with other people in your everyday life. This small conversation with that woman turned out to be such a big deal to me. So that kind of seed of joy and transformation in making a peaceful society is always already everywhere. Whether or not you discover that is always up to you and up to each of us. So you are invited to find that seed in each moment of your everyday life. And what happened this morning will be followed by this video. Thank you for watching. Feel free to leave a comments or questions below. Looking forward to seeing you pretty soon for the next meeting. Bye. Happy holiday.